all set to go, and I'd forgotten to put my microphone on. Now, if you've been following me on my Facebook group for a while, Flower Start World, you'll know that I've just come back from America and I am absolutely addicted to Christmas magazines. So while we were there, I bought a few and I wondered whether you fancied flicking through the pages with me, getting yourself in the mood for a bit of Christmas festivity. Now, why am I talking about Christmas whilst opening wraps of tulips? The reason is I have just been swimming, met a friend at our local pool. We've got an indoor pool and an outdoor pool, and we try and swim together once a week in the outdoor pool. I never know exactly what the temperature is. It's cold enough, if you imagine getting yourself an ice cold drink and then lifting that jumper and throwing it over your nice warm tummy. It is that cold. It is quite a shock to the system. So what is the connection between swimming on a Sunday weekend morning and then tulips? Well, if you've been following me for any length of time, you will know that I really love embracing the changing seasons. I like using flowers that are in season. So why then, Julie, you're asking, are you arranging some what might look like slightly bedraggled tulips? Well, the reason for that is when I walk home, I walk past a lady who does some charity work. She takes scrap fabric and she makes them into usable items, I think for people who have been homeless and are just setting up their new homes. So quite often I go and I donate my fabric scraps. Lots of my mum's patchworking materials went there, and it's nice to do a little bit for charity. Also, she raises funds by selling off or asking for donations for flowers that have come from the supermarket. So these flowers have come from the co-op. So originally they were £4.50, on clearance for £2.07, and I put in a charitable donation. But look at the state of the flowers. They have gone mouldy. So that is the reason why I have come home with a bunch of tulips. It goes totally against the grain. I don't like using tulips. I wouldn't normally buy tulips until after Christmas because they're a spring flower. And I want to be thinking about the autumn time and not thinking about spring just yet. But these looked absolutely gorgeous. They are a parrot style of tulip. So they've got that wrinkled edge to them and they just look absolutely beautiful. And I would say, if you're buying flowers for yourself for a treat, I quite like buying single varieties. So I've got here, I made a donation for 3 bunches of tulips, but it's that abundance of a single variety in a vase, I think looks really special. So I'm cutting these flowers quite short, number one, because they've not really been looked after very well, but they're at the end of their sell by date. Actually, their sell by date, it says display until, I think that says the 6th of November, it might be the 8th, and what is it today? Remembrance Sunday. So they've literally gone past their sell by date. So quite a good thing is, if you're doing the same thing as me, is to cut your flowers really short if they're old flowers. And it just means the water's got less of a distance to travel and you've got more of a chance of enjoying them. So these aren't going to last long. Actually, let's have a bet. How long do you think they will last? They will slightly, tulips are known to slightly grow as well in the vase. Is it phototropic, is it? They grow towards the light, but they also continue growing in length. So I'm cutting these short because the flowers need a bit of resuscitation, but also, falling out, they will move towards the light. So depending on where I put these, I may discover that tomorrow morning they're all sort of looking out in that direction. So just a few more snips. and then we can get on with the magazines. So I've just been putting each flower into a hole, and then I'm going to in the flower frog. Do you remember this vase? I showed it to you the other week when I went to the vintage Christmas market at Penshurst. But once you've got a quantity of flowers in, you run out of space to put them in the flower frog, so you can just start to feed them in between the other flowers, and they will all support each other. So let's all pretend it's March, moving into April, and I've got a beautiful bowl of seasonal tulips to enjoy. Now, doesn't that look really good? Certainly bring a smile to your face. So, hello there, Carol. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you here. You have to tell me, Carol, what time it is in the morning with your time zone. We've just come back from Boston and New York, and you know it's like you're constantly trying to work out what the time is locally and also what the time is at home. It really does mess with your mind. So I've done my tulips. I have a little bit of a wipe down. And perhaps, Carol, you can let me know whether you get this. Oh, blind! Carol, it's too early in the morning, 6:25. So here it is 11:26. So my daughter has just gone out to work. My husband is taking the dog for a walk. So I thought I've got a little bit of time for a chat. So do you remember the other day I showed you through Better Homes and Gardens Halloween magazine? And today I thought you might like to see inside the pages of the Christmas magazine. Is this a title that you're familiar with? So I had quite terrible difficulty finding magazines. I had this vision, I suppose, as sort of this time zone vision, or time warp vision probably, that on the streets in New York there were sellers of magazines. I guess it's because we don't rely on print so much for our magazines and newspapers. So I'm guessing all the sort of corner retailers that I remember had actually all turned into fast food people with their carts. So I actually had to Google where, this is a bit of water left over, is annoying me, where I could find these magazines. So I found them at a shop. We were staying in New York, and I Googled, where can I buy a magazine in New York? And it's told me that there was a magazine cafe, not a cafe where you could have a cup of tea, it was just a magazine shop in Midtown. So this one is called Cottages and Bungalows, Christmas charm for every corner. So I'm always up for a little bit of Christmas inspiration, but also immersing myself in a culture. We speak a common language, but I know in Canada and in America you do things differently to us. Oh gosh, in the UK, apologies for that. So do you want a quick flash through? Where shall we start? So a beautiful little cottage. Now even the front cover, I just know this isn't a European magazine because, well, certainly in the UK we don't do this because our windows don't quite do that kind of thing. So a Christmas wreath on the door and perhaps a bit of trimming around the edge and even some Christmas lights. We just don't have houses that are designed like this with the porch at the front. And unless you had a Victorian house or a Georgian house, you just wouldn't have that window configuration. So they look like sash windows to me, where presumably the ribbon has been attached and then it's sort of been, the top sash has come down, the ribbon's been fed through and it's sort of being clamped in place. So let's go. And again, this just isn't the architecture that we see here in England. And I will say as well that this just isn't the way that we decorate our Christmas trees here. Perhaps in department stores and hotels, they might look like that. So that is the one big cultural difference between England and America, is we based on what I've seen, exclusively what I've seen on YouTube, we decorate our trees in totally different ways. This is something that feels much more familiar to me. So let's go. It says Christmas charm for every corner. So bows. This, I think, is a fashion at the moment. In fact, I've been flicking through some of my older Christmas magazines, and if you love Christmas as much as I do and flower arranging books, I do have a playlist on YouTube called Flower Arranging Magazines and Books. It's quite inspired in its title. But if you love Christmas magazines, look out for the ones for country living, and I do like to flick through the pages. And I was going through my stack. I've been having a rearrange at home, and I've got a stack of magazines, Christmas magazines, that I've kept. I did have a real overhaul because they were just getting too many of them. And looking back on them, I can see that bows were making a feature in the magazines several years ago, whereas I hadn't really noticed them. Oh yes, Country Living, how it is a fabulous magazine, isn't it? And actually, I went to this magazine cafe in Midtown in New York. It was full of titles that I recognised from home, including the Flower Arranger magazine, which usually I get through my own flower arranging club. So it was quite funny that I saw my Christmas edition of the Flower Arranger in New York before I'd actually seen a copy in my hands. So I did have to look, not struggle to look, but I did have to make sure I was buying a magazine that I couldn't buy at home. And I will say with the magazines, overall, I think they're thinner than the ones we have at home. And in terms of price, and it's quite interesting here as well, but we don't, it says January 2025, oh, sorry, it doesn't, it says December 25, January 26, display until the 12th, that doesn't, that's because your dates are different to us, December 23rd, of course we'd write that the other way around. So that was $11.99 US, which I'm guessing was about £8, which probably for my regular monthly magazine, I'm probably paying about $5.99, that's in pounds, and for some of the more seasonal ones that come out quarterly, probably nearer £12 or £15. So let's go. So this is a well-stocked tree. So I would say, again, I'm not an arbiter of taste or anything, but I absolutely love a real Christmas tree. And I don't know whether in the UK there is still the following for real Christmas trees, or whether people are tending to move over to artificial ones. Say this in a really quiet voice, but we've now got an artificial tree because my husband doesn't like the mess of a real tree. I feel quite sad about that because I like all that festivity and an occasion of going out and buying a Christmas tree. And it brings back memories of Christmas time with my mum and dad. So we never used to decorate our tree until we'd broken up from school. And then it was a job we did with my dad to go into town to buy a Christmas tree. And he always used to like to leave it to the last minute so he'd get a good deal. And some years we had some really spindly trees. And I must admit, my preference, hardwired into me since I was a child, was for a more spindly looking tree. So although these trees look absolutely perfect in shape, and of course that's what an artificial tree gives you, to me it's nice, but it's not as nice as the memory of my Christmas. So let me know in the comments, are you a real tree fan or an artificial tree fan? So the fashion is definitely for more bows this year. These look like satin bows, and also this is sort of a turquoise blue with the opposite colour, and the colour wheel is orange. So I think you may well see, perhaps that's an international thing. Perhaps we're not being original with our colours. Are we internationally being guided by the fashion houses, and orange and blue are the new colours for Christmas instead of red and green? So this lovely little Father Christmas mug. So we do we call it Santa, him Santa, or Father Christmas? I've grown up in a household that always called Father Christmas, although I am partial to a Secret Santa with gift exchanges. So I have got several of these mugs. You can find them in charity shops. I tend hardly ever to shop in a real shop, so I don't know whether they are, I don't know where I would go if I wanted one, if I went to a real shop. I just don't know. So this is quite a traditional look, I'd say, with the knitted stockings. So looking good. So I should go back and read this later on, but I'm just flicking through the pictures. This looks more like a tree that we would have at home, and this looks like something out of the pages of Country Living magazine, the tartan blanket on a bench with candles. And if you've ever tried to light a candle outdoors, it was near impossible to get it to stay alight. Although you can get now those, you can see the autumn sunshine coming in, the taper candles are LED battery operated. they look as good as a candle, but it's when you light them, I just don't think that flicker of a solid white sort of lump of plastic with the there's a bit of flicker on the ones I've got, but it's not the same as a real candle. But of course, be fire safe aware. So I think this tree is absolutely beautiful. It looks to me as if there's lots of vintage baubles there. So again, we would call these baubles, Baubles. I think in America you just say Christmas balls or Christmas decorations, but traditionally they were all round. So they're baubles. And I really like the look of this one, but for me it is culturally, that's just a really overpacked tree. And as I said before, something I'd expect to see in a department store or perhaps a fancy hotel, but not the kind of tree that I would have at home. Now, talking about trees, I have found the Homeworthy channel in the last year. In fact, probably I started watching it last Christmas. Absolutely beautiful. And they have got, I think, a playlist of 52 videos you can watch at Christmas, showing people's Christmas trees and how they decorate for Christmas. It's a real insight, and especially if you live in different parts of the world, that you can see lots of houses. They describe as being in London, but they're not. They're in England or the British Isles. But also, of course, lots of houses in America too. So Janice's tips for a perfect tree. Spend time sprucing branches. Well, you've got a real tree. You don't need to spruce your branches. Protect and preserve. Put a large blanket or quilt under your tree while decorating with your precious vintage ornaments. Yeah, you don't want them to break. Use the, this is new to me. Use the triangle or zigzag rule. I have a set of 3 identical ornaments. I place them in a triangle shape on the tree. Then it's on to multiples of the same colour. I stagger them so they don't end up being next door neighbours on the tree. I like this rule because if you are a flower arranger, you'll know about the rule of 3, and it's easy. It's easy. If you can put 3 flowers in a bowl, you know next time to put 3 flowers in the other way. That would create a Star of David, 2 interlocking triangles. I like that idea. But I think perhaps these things, it's what we do naturally, and it's all, I love decorating the Christmas tree. But as I keep saying to my husband, it's not a chore that needs to be done in an afternoon. You need to take your time with it. And of course, if whoever you're decorating the tree with, you have to be the last person up. So you can lie on your sofa with the lights twinkling, and then you can just move the ornaments so you can see them from your best vantage point. So small to large. Place small ornaments at the top and larger at the bottom. So that was the way, visually, because if you put big baubles at the top, it'll visually make it look like the tree is falling towards you. So again, that's a principle and element of floral design, that we keep our larger flowers open towards the bottom and then progressively get smaller and smaller. Now, do you watch Rebecca Robeson? She is the queen of Christmas. The self-declared queen of Christmas, I think. Oh, good, Carol. Oh, Carol, you're allergic to pine trees. Artificial. Do you spray your tree with an artificial pine spray? I did think about that. We tend now to have a scented candle and just get the smells of Christmas. But that would, my abiding childhood memory is going downstairs. You shut all your doors at night, come downstairs, and just that first time you open the living room door in the morning, that scent of pine, just absolutely glorious. But if you're allergic, not quite so much fun. So Rebecca Robeson, small to large. So small getting larger. Rebecca Robeson says to put your big baubles. That she would put the baubles, she puts her big ones right inside the tree to create more of a 3-dimensional look, and then she'd have the smaller ones on the outside edge. And how do you hang your Christmas baubles? I never knew there was a different way of hanging them. Because our baubles here, the round, with a little metal bit, and I think the more modern ones have a plastic stopper, and then a bit of thread that comes through. So you hang the ball onto your branch, that's the branch, and that's the little bauble hanging down, and they dangle. And I think that's part of the problem with the compact American style, that they don't dangle so well because you've got so many branches. But I guess this is where you sort of manipulate the branches up a little bit. So she's saying here, Janice's tips say, squeeze tight. I pinch my ornament hooks onto the branches so they're secure. It takes longer to remove. See, I don't use hooks. I think you have these hooks that are like paper clips. I'm still there with little bits of colourful string, or I'm trying to be really trendy. I've started putting mine on tiny bits of ribbon, so even instead of having a bit of silvery Christmas string and then a bit of gold, I'm trying to uniform, ever seeking perfection. So that lovely autumn light is really shining now. Don't skimp on ornaments, add them up in the inside of the tree. So that's what Rebecca Robeson says. The finishing touch. Let's face it, the stand of a faux tree is never pretty. So she's fluffed a chenille bedspread across the edge. I would say this tree skirt thing, again, I'm out of touch with popular culture, but we never had a tree skirt at home. And also, when do you put your presents under your Christmas tree? We always put them up after we've eaten on Christmas Eve and put the presents under the tree for maximum excitement. So I don't have presents under the tree as I buy them and wrap them. They all get squirreled away. So blue and whites, who doesn't love a little bit of blue and white? So craft, this again, that just looks like a beautiful Christmas card, doesn't it? Oh, controversial there, Carol. So Carol puts them under the tree as soon as she wraps them up. This is absolutely gorgeous. It says, nestled in the heart of White Bear Lake, MN. Is that Minnesota? I don't know my states. 1912 bungalow, which is gorgeous. So we do have some bungalows that look a little bit like this. We have them quite often in our seaside towns. So, but we still don't really have these porches. You can go in the garden. She's gone to work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm filming at the moment. So my husband's back from his dog walk, and he's missed our daughter. She's so busy working at the moment, and we keep saying to each other, we've not seen her. She's on her gap year between school and university. Let me talk to you about this tablecloth. So I had a bit of a flick through here. And one thing I've noticed in this magazine, oh look, I've turned the page down, is this, top marks from Minnesota then, thank you, Carol. It doesn't say where things are from. So in our magazines, our UK magazines, it will tell you the tablecloth from so-and-so, flowers and light fitting from so-and-so. Is that because in America, you must have, you've got national brands, but I'm just curious as to why I can't look up, I like that tablecloth. Or are you all relying on Google Lens on your phones? So suffice to say, I took a screenshot of this when I was in America because I really like this tablecloth. I like the fact it's festive without shouting, we don't, you change the way you decorate over the time depending on the age of your family. So we're all grown-ups now. We're not having Father Christmas and snowmen and everything. I like the fact it's red and white so it looks festive, but I also like the fact that if I put that on my table in the middle of summer, it still looks like a nice tablecloth. So I'm thinking better value for money. It's also striking a chord with me because just recently we've swapped around our dining room table and our kitchen table. So we've now got our round dining table in our kitchen. So I need a tablecloth. And I looked this one up and I think from memory, it's from an Australian company and would have cost me £120 to buy, which is a bit more than I would like to spend. So I've sort of got this on my wish list. And again, if you go back through my country living magazines, I've pointed out a picture a bit like this before, and I think it had poppies on it, or it looked like leopard print, but in a floral. Sometimes the sources are listed in the back. Good tip. And now you heard my husband coming in, and now you may well hear the dog barking. We'll have to see when we get there. So I love this. I absolutely adore it. The greens, the reds, lots of flowers, of course, beautiful chandelier. There's a huge lamp on the table. Oh, there's candles as well. I just love the fact that once you look and then you start to look at all the different layers. I'm thinking quite often we put pomegranates in flower arrangements. They are really long lasting. You know, perhaps if I want that decadence and look and feel, that I should be tumbling, you know, oranges, satsumas and pomegranates into a bowl to enjoy for Christmas time. So this is all rather lovely, isn't it? I will say that this is beautiful and probably looks really, really good in person. But to me, there's nothing, there's no definition. So you've got the Christmas tree, and then the fashion at the moment is for narrow velvet ribbons, and they've been tied in bows, but it kind of, there's nothing your eye can rest on. What I'm looking at is the wreath, which I absolutely adore wreaths, against that plain background there. But that's the thing, isn't it? If you ever tried taking a photograph of your beautiful Christmas tree or your stunning flower arrangement, it never quite looks so good once you've taken the picture, when you look on your camera, as it does in real life. So I guess your eyes must be filtering. Candy canes. Do we need to talk about candy canes? And again, we would say that that's an American thing that's come over to us. So again, I don't quite understand candy canes. So I've actually got a glass candy cane, and the candy canes we get here, they're all individually wrapped and they're peppermint, aren't they? But do you eat them as sweets? Because when you try and take the plastic wrapping off, they're so fiddly. Or are you actually dipping them in your hot chocolate? Well, we would call hot chocolate, but you call hot cocoa. So again, there's language changes over time. When I was little, we used to have a bedtime drink every night, and we had cocoa when you put the powder in and put some sugar, a bit of milk, and then you boiled milk on the stove and poured it in. But now everyone just talks about hot chocolate, and it's instant hot chocolate. So there we go. A little bit of cultural talk here. You'll have to, do let me know what I've got wrong. So, Mama's Cozy Hot Chocolate Recipe. So this is hot chocolate recipe, is how you instant dried milk, powdered sugar, and unsweetened cocoa powder. These look like mince pies, which I think was a British thing. I don't think you have mince pies. Pastry with a sweet mincemeat, so it's raisins, dried fruit, and then suet. So originally that would have been animal lard, suet, but we don't eat meat, so we use the vegetarian variety, which I don't think you can tell the difference. And then that's the larger picture of the one I showed you before. So interesting as well, seeing all the adverts. Cozy and coastal. So I don't live too far away from the coast. Whitstable is our nearest seaside town, famous for its Whitstable oysters. And this looks very Whitstable to me. I guess it's just the blue and white. So I'm going to skip over that. A touch of Europe. Well, let's see if this translates. With its timeless and traditional elements, European-inspired home design and decor is a great way to give your cottage a cosy yet refined look. Choose organic elements, create structural features, select black accents, and keep lines clean. That's interesting, isn't it? See, I know straight away that this isn't my bit of Europe, because although I'm familiar with the shape of this chair, you just wouldn't see that here. Most people would have matching sets. So it is different. And the other thing I find different as well is your mantelpieces with just this slab of wood across the top, whereas our mantelpiece would have a surround, like a square arch. And I quite often look at your Homeworthy videos, and I'm about to slate a whole country in one fell swoop. And they say, I love my mantelpiece. And I'm just thinking, it looks so ugly. It's just a slab, and where are the side pieces? So you do certainly get used to what you know. So that's the picture from the front cover, shining bright. Again, we don't have porches. We talk about porches, but that's just where your front door, and it's probably got a small canopy and probably is 1 metre by 2 metres at the absolute most. Highly unusual if you've got space to, to have this sitting area outside. Really, really unusual. So I would say that to me that looks more sort of British cottagey, possibly. Although we don't really go in for these blinds. I had these kind of blinds when I was a student, and they were right old pain because they would work well for the first few weeks, and then you end up with it all bunched up at one end and drooping down at the other. So it says, oh, this is a story of a lady whose home got damaged in a freak flash flood. So this is more like our Christmas tree, I would say. So do I know anyone who's got a flocked Christmas tree in their own home? I don't think I do. So that's probably why I think this is a plain green tree. It looks very realistic. It's got loads of lights on it, and it looks like lots of children's decorations here. Little things that look like they've been made at nursery school. And then the train around the edge. Again, if I went to a stately home, something National Trust, you might see that. I don't think I've ever seen anybody in real life have that. I absolutely love this little setup with the fabric curtain and the little tray here, amaryllis growing. I've just used my coffee pot to put water in my vintage jug. And look, a little, I was going to say a teddy bear, it's actually a real live dog, I assume. So this looks lovely. Oh, it is a real dog. More ruching here. Oh, the blue and white here. I think I'm showing my age. I saw blue and white crockery in a magazine about 15 years ago. I thought, oh, how old-fashioned. It's so granny-like. But now my eye has been drawn more and more to this. And I think this pattern here is, it looks like the number 1 Danish from the Royal Copenhagen. And I've got quite a few pieces of pottery that have been inspired by that. And then I know in America you have a green onion pattern. Is that the green onion pattern? I don't know. But I am becoming more and more interested in collecting blue and white crockery like that. But the orange with the cloves in it, dried oranges, not quite as easy to do at home as magazines would lead you to believe. Problems with cutting straight. Although I've got a device now that clamps round, it's for cutting tomatoes, and it's got a grid. So let me see if I've got it in my kitchen drawer. Yes, I have. This. So you put your orange in there, and then you slice it down. It just gives you a bit more control when you're doing your oranges. I find doing the oven is really tricky. It's like a real day-long commitment because you have to keep checking them. They're dry, they're fleshy, and then they're burnt. But more success with drying it on the top of my radiator. We've got double radiators and they've got grills on the top, so sometimes we just put them on the top. But a few radiators ago, it didn't have the grill, so it had like this recessed bit, so you could be drying your oranges, but they didn't, it didn't look as if you lived in the middle of a craft shop. So a little topiary tree there. Apple slices, dried. So this has all got a familiarity to me, but these sort of crocks I hear mentioned in lots of American videos aren't really a thing. My mum had a crock when she used salt in everything, when you're cooking, boiling vegetables and things like that. And that's the only time I've really seen a crock in use. And that looks very farmhouse, the blue and white crockery there. Scrubbed pine table, tartan, I can get behind this look, tartan placemats and serviettes and napkins. Looks lovely. I love this idea when it always hanging greenery from a chandelier, but I just don't have a light fitting like that. So sometimes you've got these beautiful ideas, but you just know they're never going to come to fruition in your own home. Gingerbread cakes. Salt crock. Was it beigey brown and then a dark brown rim at the top? I think when my mum and dad moved into a care home, I think their salt crock came to me, and I thought I'd use it as a vase, and I discovered it had a crack in the bottom and leaked water everywhere. Of course, with it having salt in it, it didn't really show. My mum I can remember, a bright yellow saucer. I think it was a melamine saucer to keep the moisture out. So again, this style of gingerbread house, I would say, is definitely American. We're being influenced by Pinterest and you. We do gingerbread houses, but they just look much more naive than this. And of course, you can buy kits when the pieces are already cut out. But the problem with gingerbread houses, they always fall over, don't they? Impossible to glue them together. I'm quite pleased to see this style of blind coming back in because I've made one of those for our downstairs toilet about 20 years ago. Hold on long enough and everything comes back into fashion. But little raised cake plates. See, and this is what I love about magazines. Thinking this is an absolutely glorious picture, but are you really having your very delicate gingerbread house right next to your kitchen sink? So every time you clean your dishes and put them there to drain, you're splashing water everywhere. So just don't believe everything you see in a magazine, quite like this wallpaper. I said before in the last video that I'm theming my living room red, white and blue, and that's what I meant. It's not that everything's covered in a Union Jack, but it's this sort of subtlety of red, white and blue. So I'm looking for a rug at the moment to put over our beige carpet just to give it a bit more colour. I love this look with the, I've just bought my Christmas tree from the farmer's market. I'm just going to rest it in this metal tub. It never quite works like that. And again, glorious, glorious. I just wish I lived in a place that had snow. It is a very unusual occurrence for us to have snow. I live in the southeast of England. The first 5 years of my daughter's life, I think we had snow every year. And I don't think it's snowed for the following 11, 12, 13 years. But I just love all this look. The red cushion, the reds and greens, the tartan blanket, the lanterns, they look gorgeous. And I see this a lot in videos that I watch. I can't remember what you call this now. Is it where you put your post, your letters, your mailboxes? Because I know your mailboxes are on sticks with a flag at the top. So that's something that isn't typically British. Oh gosh, yes, I love this. We just don't have a banister like this though. Ours, we've replaced it a few years ago. It's got the pine handle, but we've actually got pieces of glass that go up. So there's none of the balustrades aren't there. But isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I would love to have Christmas in this house. And if you look, it's very, it's very minimal. It's not fussy and busy. It's just lots of pine with occasional berries. And I think these are they're probably all faux, aren't they? And then the Christmas lights wound around. I can get behind that kind of tree. So I wonder what the little garland's made of. Do you think it's sort of crocheted bits? Sometimes I've done that. It's threaded, because I've been influenced by Americans, threading cranberries onto pieces of string. I wonder if it says heirloom ornaments, handmade red velvet bows, vintage glass rounds, so I would call those baubles. I can't immediately see. Then brown transfer wear. So I absolutely love the look of this. I think it's my life's goal to go somewhere that's snowy to see these red barns. So do I need to go to America for that or Scandinavia? I just think that's such a pretty picture with the blue dresser. So I would call that a Welsh dresser. It's not Welsh because to be Welsh it's got to have certain dimensions. Absolutely love this. If my Christmas table looked like this, I would be very, very happy. So it's got round woven placemats. It's got double plates. So again, question for you. I see all these, again, I'm lumping you all together in one, but I keep seeing people, again, admittedly, doing things for YouTube and magazine spreads, and they say, oh yes, I set my Christmas table. Well, we don't set our Christmas table, I don't, until I'm just about to eat Christmas dinner. I might do it the night before, possibly, if I was being super organised. But do you actually set up a table and have that waiting for the action to start at Christmas? In which case, where are you actually eating your meals? But I absolutely love this. And the little trees along here, the pillar candles. It's got a sort of a Scandi vibe, quite a pared back look. I think that's lovely. And I'd love to have windows like this. So some just plain glassware, real candlelight here. Just really gorgeous. Oh, I'm in the same boat then, just the night before for a special dinner. Yes, indeedy. Look, is that a real deer? tranquil cottage in the North Georgia mountains. This European-inspired cottage feels like it stood for centuries, full of antiques, heirlooms. So let's see, as a European, well, you see, I would say yes, I'm English, British, from the UK, in Europe, but am I truly European? Because when I go to France and Germany and Belgium and Holland, it all looks so exotic. So mainland Europe is something else entirely. So is that European? Possibly Austrian. I don't like this brickwork at all. But if it's the local bricks, that's best to use what's local. I think this story here is, after raising 5 children, they had a huge house of 5 children, and then it got too big for them, so I don't know whether they're renting it out. I think they live with all these dogs. I would say this is sort of a quintessentially British country cottage look, but not in real life. I don't know anybody who lives like this. I had a friend who lived in a house once with the beams showing, historic beams. So this is, again, that style of fireplace isn't, it's quite ornate. I'd expect to see that, in a very old building or, a stately home, somewhat, landed gentry. But it is rather nice. I think if we all just looked at our own homes, they would just look so, well, we live in them, don't they? So sort of suburban, you buy what you can afford, there's never a put together look. I quite like this tree because it's sparse perhaps. So urn planter, looks like there's a bit of moss covering up. I'm guessing it's a fake tree, it's too perfect. But I quite like the simplicity of that you can see every single little bit. So Wendy's 5 must-haves for a cottage Christmas. Cosy glow only. She says use only warm incandescent lights. LEDs feel too harsh and modern. Although with the LEDs you can swap. I've bought some LED rechargeable light bulbs and you can switch it between looks. So I wouldn't necessarily, I think probably, Wendy, I might disagree with you there, but I might go with the more energy efficient LEDs and just make sure it had a setting for warmth. Nature everywhere, fresh and faux greenery, dried orange slices, rosemary, gingerbread elements, plaids and textures. See, would I use the word plaid? I know what you mean when you say plaid, but I would say tartan. Pillows and throws. See, pillows straight away. A pillow is on a bed. It's not on your armchair. It's a cushion when it's on your armchair. The power of scent. Christmas smells like cinnamon and cloves. I do agree with you there, Wendy. Drifting through the house. And a touch of whimsy. My husband and I dress as Santa and Mrs. Claus. Well, I can rest assured my husband won't be doing that. Gorgeous, gorgeous ribbon. Do you watch... What's the name of the YouTube channel? Is it She Holds Dearly with Sarah? I do enjoy her Christmas channel. And one year she used a ribbon similar in colour to this, which I bought, and it was very lovely. A sort of cappuccino peachy colour. And nutcrackers or these are they German, where you put a sort of pasta of something in it and it burns, smokers. So again, we see these more and more, and of course there's the traditional nutcracker ballet, which I've never seen, but it's not really part of my family Christmas. Lots of cooking going on. Question for you. See, I've been thinking of putting a lamp on my kitchen windowsill, but everything in the kitchen gets a bit gooey, doesn't it? No matter how much you keep it clean. Our kitchen clock just ends up with a film on it, and I just wonder how long that fabric will stay looking good actually in the kitchen. Treasure hunting. Oh yes, I can get behind this. Antiques give this home its timeless charm. Look for character, not perfection. Think function first. Mix and match and be patient. Number 1 rule. It's not like going to a real shop. You have to wait and see. So I had a cricket machine a few years ago. I think I bought it in lockdown, and I was making lots of these signs. Have these signs gone out of fashion though, announcing everything, Christmas? Well, it's Christmas time. And I guess this is what you call the plaid, is it? The buffalo check? See, I wouldn't call that a check. I would say that was gingham, although our gingham is normally with a white going through, not black. And then the poinsettia. Loads and loads of berries, lovely. Rocking horses. So this is Florist. How do you do Christmas if you live in a warm part of the world at Christmas time? How do you do a hot Christmas? I think Christmas just made for cold weather. So we could discuss that as well. Love the stripes here. It's quite full on red though, isn't it? I think I would put a little bit of green in there. And again, this is all beautiful, but do you see what I mean about it being just a bit busy? Your eye can't work out what it's looking at. So, you know, the focal area, a bit like flower arranging. Chip and dip. See, I know what you mean when you say chip and dip. It's not, we wouldn't term it chip and dip. We have to have a dip with some crisps, tortilla chips. Yeah, so I'm right there. Carol is my woman of the moment. She said they are going out of style, those signs. Lovely, lovely, lovely transferware. So I started using or collecting red transferware when I think Sarah from She Holds Dearly featured it on her channel, and I'd never seen it before, never noticed it before. And then I also watch Farmhouse on Boone, the lady who's got a very large family now. Can't remember what her name is, but I quite like their Christmassy videos. So a reindeer, mistletoe, 25 cents each. Pillow. I've said pillows now. So it all looks beautiful. Wouldn't it be so nice if you stay in a hotel? I found this interesting, Project Tennessee, because just look, I do enjoy a floor plan, and so I live in a house that was built in 1961. It looks like a house in the 50s, semi-detached with a bay window at the front and a bay window in the front bedroom, and it's a hipped roof, a big roof. And it's just really interesting for me as a Brit, seeing these houses from America and what we've got. So here, you've got the foyer, so we would call that our hall. The powder rooms, that would be our downstairs toilet. Walk-in closet, well, we just don't have walk-in closets. It's a wardrobe, and it's usually, not built in. It's a freestanding wardrobe. So perhaps a more modern house in Britain may have some of these features. Perhaps I should go out and visit some brand new houses to have a look. It may well be that I am dreadfully out of touch. See, this just wouldn't happen. That wouldn't be in my living room, but gorgeous nevertheless. But I like my Christmas tree, call me old-fashioned, but to look like my traditional version of Christmas. So it's loads of fake flowers, faux flowers. Looks like amaryllis, but then there's dahlias and chrysanthemums, clashing of seasons, says the woman who's just arranged some tulips in a bowl. But quite big ornaments here. Baubles hanging down. I particularly like, my favourite shape for a bauble is this with the pointed top and bottom. I've got two that I can remember my mum buying in the 70s, a red and gold one, and I think I've still got her pink and green one as well. But it's always a bit of a surprise to see what's left in the box, what I might have got rid of one year, and treasured the next. So simple joys. Christmas trees feel both abundant with oversized ornaments, bells and long gold ribbon strands. So I would say over here, they're just too big. The baubles here are too big. Oh, I'm so judgmental. And you may see that in the shop. Again, I guess it's part of fashion and trend, isn't it? I certainly don't see my friends decorating like that, a white tree with pink ribbons. But I guess if you were a younger person, you might be attracted to that. I'm thinking about ribbons. Should I go ribbons? Should I go blue this year to try and, do something different? I do like that tree, but again, it's sort of more to my taste. I do quite like all the vintage stuff on here. And the other kind of bauble I like are the long ones. I don't know whether you can see, it's like a teardrop here. So about that long, like a sausage with pointed ends. Stunning statement. Oh, yes. That was beautiful, doesn't it? You can imagine it on your kitchen windowsill full of powdered fruit. Perhaps I should start a collection of fruit-themed Christmas baubles. Here you go, getting to the end of the magazine. So if I've insulted you about your Christmas, I do apologise, but I'm here really extending a hand of friendship. So how do you decorate for Christmas? Where do you get your inspiration from? When are you starting your decorations? There's so much we could talk about. Presents on Christmas Eve or on Christmas morning. What time do you get up? I like this as well. Nice big bows. I think I probably understate. Oh, I do like those shoes. Stripy there. Understated. And I think it's all about memory, isn't it? What you remember, the memories you're trying to create for another time. So there's a book here, Visions of Christmas by Fifi O'Neill. Available from Amazon. Notes from an Edwardian Garden. Do you remember that book? Really big over here. I think in the 70s and 80s. So perhaps there was a reason why I was arranging daffodils, tulips today, because there was some linkage back to the springtime pictures over here. So I don't think I ever did find a price list. Oh, perhaps this is it. Cozy and Coastal, page 20. Yes, it does show. Christmas to Remember, page 26. Yes, it has got a list of suppliers. So I think I'll probably leave you with this page. If you want me, I'll be digging through my cupboards to see whether I can recreate this look, and perhaps even buying some ribbons. Or are they napkins that have been shaped into bows? So thank you so much for joining me today. It's fun to chat with you live, Carol. And don't forget, I did feature my Halloween magazine, so you can check back on my playlist for that. And I also bought a copy of Magnolia, but perhaps we'll talk about that another time.